The world wasn't quite sure what to make of the alien ship that hovered over Times Square. It wasn't ominous. It wasn't awe-inspiring. It wasn't even that weird. It was, frankly, kind of goofy. A giant inflatable rubber ducky, glowing an iridescent purple, floating like a party balloon caught in a gust of wind, with a few neon-lit antennas bobbing up and down, like a tourist's attempt at being futuristic. A crowd of New Yorkers, jaded, skeptical, and mostly just wanting their coffee, stared up at it in puzzled silence. Then the first alien appeared. A small hatch opened in the side of the rubber duck ship. And out stepped, well, not exactly a creature of terrifying alien grandeur, but rather something that looked like a mix between a giant crab and a confused waiter at a seafood restaurant. The creature was a bright shade of turquoise, its body encased in a shiny exoskeleton that looked almost like it had been polished with car wax. It wore a sash emblazoned with something that vaguely resembled the letters GCB in a font that screamed, "We got this from a surplus store on Mars." Its eyes were large and bulbous, shifting rapidly between the crowd, and its mouth was an unsettling mix of too many pincers and too little expression. But there was one thing that was undeniably clear: it was trying to smile. Or at least, it looked like it was attempting to mimic the human gesture of happiness. "Greetings, Earthlings," the alien said in an oddly cheerful voice, loud enough for everyone in the square to hear. It was somehow both robotic and friendly, like a friendly but overly polite software update. "We are from the Galactic Cultural Bureau, and we have come to bring you a gift." Alex Carter, standing off to the side in his best I don't care pose, watched the alien carefully. A smile tugged at his lips, not out of amusement, but because he had already called dibs on the alien interview. He pulled out his phone to snap a few pictures. The selfies would write themselves. New York needed a feel-good alien story anyway, something to make the city look less like a scene from Mad Max and more like the set of Star Trek. A group of tourists began to cheer. The alien smile grew wider, or at least, it looked like it did. "Fear not," the alien continued, as if reading the mood of the crowd perfectly. "We come in peace. And also in a state of intergalactic cultural diplomacy." The word diplomacy made Alex roll his eyes. He had no time for whatever vague buzzword the aliens had invented to justify why they were here. He was already imagining the headline, "Aliens Land, Promise to Teach Us How to Get Along." Alex had covered all kinds of cultural nonsense in his day: clothing lines inspired by indigenous patterns, trendy street food fusion experiments, and even a "peace through organic quinoa bowls" initiative. But this was something different. This was the real deal. The alien, the one Alex later found out was named Lipa, continued. "We come to Earth with an ancient and sacred tradition we wish to share with you. It is called Seed Horse Flow." The crowd went quiet. Someone snickered. A baby started crying. Alex tilted his head, curiosity finally piqued. Did he just say "Seed Horse Flow"? He muttered to himself. Lipa, misinterpreting Alex's skepticism as confusion, waved a crab-like claw and began to elaborate. Yes. It is the highest form of cultural exchange. Through Seed Horse Flow, we, the galactic beings, connect to your species in the most meaningful way possible. We share our essence with you, and you, in turn, will share your essence with us. It is the only way to truly understand one another. The only way to build true bonds. To mate. Alex blinked, like a man who had just stepped into a new realm of what the hell. Wait, did he just? Alex began, his brain scrambling to process the words, but it was too late. The aliens had already started preparing the Seed Horse Flow ritual. It involved, as the aliens explained in increasingly awkward detail, a series of intimate exchanges to foster cultural understanding. It wasn't just some frivolous gesture, it was a serious part of their intergalactic diplomacy. To the aliens, physical intimacy was the most sacred act of cultural exchange, the method by which species learned each other's deepest truths. Alex's phone dropped from his hand. He didn't remember much of the next few minutes. He was too busy trying to wrap his head around the idea that an entire species was trying to get Earthlings to engage in what sounded like some sort of intergalactic orgy. This wasn't contact with aliens. This was contact with aliens you definitely don't want to make out with. For a brief second, Alex thought about leaving, just walking off and going back to his apartment, maybe take a nap, pretend none of this was happening. But then, the media swarmed. A dozen reporters from every corner of the world started jostling for the best angle to catch the alien delegates in their oversized ceremonial robes, and Alex knew in that instant that this was going to be his story. It was in a shiny, glass-walled building downtown that Alex finally met Lipa in a more formal setting. "So, let me get this straight," Alex said, perched on a plastic chair that felt like it belonged in a high school science classroom. "You guys came here to exchange bodily fluids?" Lipa waved his claw, which was way too big for such a delicate gesture. "Not just fluids, Alex Carter. Essence. Emotion. Cultural understanding. You humans, you're so obsessed with language and artifacts. We are beyond that. We understand each other through the heart, and other parts." He looked at Alex with what Alex could only describe as a knowing wink. "In Seed Horse Flow, we become each other. Right?" Alex couldn't believe he was still standing there. "And this is how you connect with the people of Earth?" "Yes," Lipa said, nodding seriously. "This is how we will help you understand us." Alex didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He thought about all the stories he had written before. The rise of the robots hype. The dystopian Earth scenarios. This, however, was something else entirely. No one was prepared for Seed Horse Flow. Certainly not Alex Carter. "Well," Alex said slowly, trying to keep his face from flushing as Lipa stared at him expectantly. I guess I could learn more about it, right?" Lipa's face, or whatever passed for a face on him, lit up with what could only be described as enthusiasm bordering on feverish. "Excellent. We'll begin immediately." Alex's stomach dropped. He had a feeling this was going to be very different than any cultural exchange he had ever written about. Alex felt like he'd just signed up for the weirdest cultural exchange program in human history. As Lipa led him down the sleek, glass-lined corridor of the Alien Cultural Bureau's embassy, he tried to ignore the mounting feeling of dread in his stomach. The walls shimmered with holographic projections of distant galaxies, stars twinkling in places that couldn't possibly exist, and aliens from various races who looked even stranger than the crab creature guiding him. There were beings with tentacles for hands, creatures whose bodies seemed to phase in and out of existence, and others that seemed to consist entirely of light. "Is this your first time with the Seed Horse Flow, Alex Carter?" Lipa asked, his voice chirping like an over-enthusiastic intern at a new job. Yes," Alex said, fidgeting with the collar of his shirt. "I have to admit, I didn't exactly study for this one." Lipa's numerous, beady eyes twinkled. "It is natural to be nervous. Humans are so shy when it comes to matters of intimacy." He glanced at Alex knowingly. "But do not worry. The flow will help you. You will see how easily we connect." Alex shot him a look. "Just to be clear, we're talking about sharing essence here, right?" Lipa didn't miss a beat. "Yes. Through intimate exchange, we share our core essence. It is the most sacred thing we can offer." His pinchers clicked in what Alex could only interpret as excitement. "Our cultures will blend in this beautiful, transcendent moment. You will understand us, Alex Carter. And we will understand you." Alex wasn't sure whether to scream, laugh, or run screaming out of the building. But the one thing he knew for sure was that he needed answers. The most pressing one: what, exactly, was going to happen next? "All right, then," Alex said, voice slightly shaky. "Tell me what happens in this flow. What do I have to do?" Lipa paused dramatically, as if trying to conjure up the most profound explanation he could. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he spoke. We begin by establishing mutual trust. Trust is the cornerstone of all exchanges. He gestured to a small, circular room at the end of the corridor. The door slid open with a faint whoosh, revealing soft, ambient lighting and plush cushions arranged on the floor. The room looked like a combination of a Zen retreat and a 1970s love lounge. Alex gulped, but he followed Lipa inside. The alien's mannerisms were bizarrely serene, as if this whole thing was completely normal to him, and to the other creatures behind the desk, who appeared to be recording the events. We will sit, Lipa said, indicating a cushion directly across from him. We will share our thoughts. We will begin with simple questions. Nothing too complex. We start with your culture. Alex lowered himself onto the cushion, still feeling like he was playing in some strange, very expensive improv comedy show. The room smelled faintly of lavender and something like burning incense. Okay, Alex said, exhaling deeply. Ask away. I'm ready for whatever this is. Lipa settled across from him, folding his legs in an elegant gesture that somehow managed to look graceful despite his arthropod features. Tell me, Alex Carter, Lipa began, his voice lowering in pitch as if he were preparing for a philosophical debate, what is the meaning of love in your world? Alex blinked, trying to wrap his mind around the question. You want me to explain love? The human concept of love? Yes. How do you humans understand it? How do you express it? Is it a bond? A feeling? A force? Alex rubbed his temples. The absurdity of it all was finally sinking in. Love? Well, love is complicated. We express it with words. Sometimes with gestures, flowers, gifts, a hug. But it's also a feeling, like a connection between people. It's built over time, through shared experiences. But it's also fragile. Sometimes people say they love you, and it's not enough. Other times, you just feel it, like, in your chest. It's hard to explain, really. Lipa's eyes glinted with understanding. I see. A connection built over time. Yes. A bond that grows. Fascinating. There was a brief pause, and Alex realized that Lipa wasn't just asking questions for fun. The alien was genuinely curious, deeply curious, about human emotions and our concept of connection. Maybe it wasn't about the intimate exchange after all. Maybe it was about something bigger. I guess love isn't always easy, Alex said, lowering his voice. Sometimes it feels messy. Like you don't always know if you're getting it right, or if the other person really understands you. Lipa cocked his head. Messy. Yes. I understand. His tone shifted as if he were suddenly reflective. Was it possible for a giant crab to be reflective? And what about intimacy? How does your species handle it? Alex's heart skipped a beat. Intimacy, he said slowly. It's like, when you're close to someone. Physically. You trust them, you're vulnerable. It's an emotional thing, but also, yeah, physical, too. But it's more than just that. It's about connection. Lipa sat in silence for a moment. His claws twitched. We do not share the same rituals, but the essence of connection, this is what binds us. It is more than physical union. It is an exchange of worlds. It is truth. Alex could feel the weight of the words hanging in the air. Was Lipa really that far off from human conceptions of intimacy? Or was he just saying what he thought Alex wanted to hear? So, in your culture, you believe that physical connection is the only way to truly understand another species? Alex asked, trying to keep his tone level. Lipa's expression softened. It is the most direct way. But it is not the only way. We also listen. We observe. We watch. Alex said. He didn't know how to respond to that, but it didn't seem like Lipa was done yet, so, Lipa continued, we will now begin. We will share our essence through the flow. But I will ask you, Alex Carter, to open your mind first. Let go of your human barriers. I know you humans fear this exchange, but it is only through this act that you will truly understand us. Alex's chest tightened. This was it. This was the moment when the absurdity collided with the reality of being human, and he had no idea how to respond. But for some strange reason, as the room grew silent and the lights dimmed, Alex felt a sense of calm. He didn't know why, but in that moment, he realized something. Maybe it wasn't about the physical exchange at all. Maybe the exchange was in how we understood each other. Maybe this was, in its weird, foreign way, a form of empathy. Lipa extended a claw toward him, not in a menacing way, but in a gesture of invitation. Are you ready? Alex stared at it for a long moment. This wasn't the kind of moment you could rush. He had no idea what was going to happen next, but he suddenly felt a sense of peace. He wasn't in control here. And that was, okay. Slowly, Alex placed his hand in Lipa's claw, the room filled with a strange energy, soft, warm, almost as if the air itself was charged with the emotions of both species. And in that moment, Alex realized that perhaps, in some strange, unexpected way, they were both learning how to connect. Not through what was shared physically, but through the willingness to understand. The next few hours, which Alex later described in his best-selling memoir, Intimacy Beyond the Stars, were a blur of confusion, humor, and surprisingly deep emotional reflection. The alien ritual, which had started as an absurd misunderstanding, became a profound journey for Alex, a journey that forced him to examine his own concepts of identity, connection, and cultural exchange. But when the cameras stopped rolling and the world's eyes shifted to another headline, Alex Carter walked away with something far more valuable than fame or a viral moment, a true understanding of what it means to share, to listen, and to embrace the beauty of cultural differences, and, surprisingly, that was enough. End of story.